Good morning, and this is my sixth and final speech, and at 2 o'clock I'll be heading back to Michigan as I got to go to work tomorrow morning at 4 o'clock. I've got Saturday hours, and I've got to teach a class to 32 nature paths all day Sunday. I'm back Monday, and I do house calls to the Amish, and then I go to work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I don't get a day off for another week and a half. So the sixth one, I've been starting off all of my speeches with the Element Sound by Tom Lear because that's kind of all I do is talk about minerals. And some of you have seen it. Sing along if you want.
There's antimony, arsenic, aluminum, selenium, and hydrogen, and oxygen, and nitrogen, and rhenium, and nickel, neodymium, neptunium, germanium, and iron, americium, ruthenium, uranium, europium, zirconium, lutetium, vanadium, and lanthanum, and osmium, and astatine, and radium, and gold, platinum, and indium, and gallium, and iodine, and thorium, and thulium, and thallium. There's yttrium, and terbium, actinium, rubidium, and boron, gadolinium, niobium, iridium, and strontium, and silicon, and silver, and samarium, and bismuth, chromium, lithium, beryllium, and barium. There's holmium and helium and hafnium and erbium and phosphorus and francium and fluorine and terbium and manganese and mercurium, molybdenum and magnesium, dysprosium and scandium and cerium and cesium and lead, praseodymium and platinum, plutonium, palladium, promethium, potassium, polonium, and tantalum, magnesium, titanium, tellurium, and cadmium and calcium and chromium and curium. There's sulfur, californium, and fermium, berkelium, and also mendelevium, einsteinium, nobelium, and argon, kryptonium, and zinc, and rhodium, and chlorine, carbon, cobalt, copper, tungsten, tin, and sodium. These are the only ones of which the news has come to Harvard, and there may be many others, but they haven't been discovered.
I like that. I've been playing that in front of speeches for as long as I've been doing speeches because that's every element that they basically know of. Man's made a few more, but they don't last very long, make a nanosecond or something. Harry Potter, I think his name is Radcliffe. He actually got on one of those British TV programs and sang that whole song. So if he can do it, I think I'm going to try to do it eventually. So the first speech was minerals for the genetic code. I talked about bad minerals. I talked about all the minerals in the brain. I talked about minerals in acupuncture. Now this would be kind of an application of minerals. So I don't have any slides to show because this is like, okay, people have complaints in life. And so instead of, putting a slide up, because I made over 150 slides for each speech, and I never got past 30 in any speech I've given. Because I let the crowd kind of dictate which way the thing goes, the question and answers. And when it go too far out of balance, we just go back to the slides and start over. We kind of reboot. So today this last speech is, okay, people have health confidence. What's the number one problem in life right now? Well, fear. Fear of what? 1 in 2 people getting cancer and dying from it. That's men, women, 1.2. Type 2 diabetes is as rampant as it comes. Everybody's getting diabetic, and it causes what's called metabolic syndrome. You lose your eyes, you lose your kidneys, you lose something that allows you to get Social Security early in life. So I'll just basically open the floor to questions because that's what we're going to do this hour. So the first question is Joe. And Joe's agreed to stand up here and let me pick him apart. Okay?
It's going to be good.
So just turn and face that way. So Joe comes up, and when you meet somebody, do you look at their eyes? Well, I looked at his eyes, and his eyes are bloodshot as bloodshot gets. So that tells you instantly his whole body is racked with inflammation. Tell me, sir, do you have any problems? Oh, I'm diabetic. Oh. And he already told me how he got diabetic. How'd you get diabetic?
I got it about 10 years ago. Before that, I never had it. I started doing the pills the doctor gives me, and I just got worse and worse. And I cut down on a lot of sugar, a lot of bread. I've been cutting down right now on a lot of different things. But I got pains, I got everything. But the diabetic, I get it from 400. I can have it top 400 an hour later after working hard.
Yep.
I can get it down to say 200 or 150. And they never seen anybody like me.
If you go take and pull out your Google and you type in type 2 diabetes and you type in the word magnesium, you'll get 2.9 million hits. Magnesium is a critical mineral, and all type 2 diabetic people are deficient. Where did his magnesium go? He already told me. What have you been living on? Sugars? Pops?
I used to, yeah.
And now he's completely addicted to energy drinks.
Yeah.
Well, look at the energy drink bottle. I mean, what's in it? It's nothing but sugar, caffeine, and then they throw in whatever stuff that the government will have them to hop you up, keep you going. I met a man that was 24 years old, and I was mortified that he comes in and his vitamins morphine sulfate. I said, do you have stage 4 cancer? No. I says, do you have complete herniated disc? No. I have pain. I says, and your doctor gives you morphine sulfate, you're a father of 4, and this is what you take in the morning. What do you put in your body in the morning? Diet Cola. I said, what do you have for lunch? Well, morphine sulfate, Diet Cola. I said, what do you have in the afternoon? 3 Monster drinks. I'm like, are you kidding me? So when people come in and they're sick, they all have a tale of woe. It all sounds the same. It's called inflammation. What's the inflammation coming from? Lack of water, too much of this, too much of that. So when they walk in, they're chewing gum, and that's the last thing you want to do is walk into my office chewing gum. Because I'm going to ask for a stick of gum, and when I go, oh, you can't have that, I'm going to throw it in the trash. And they go, you just threw my gum in the trash. I go, that's okay, go down to my health food store. I'm going to give you a stick of gum that won't kill you. Because there's no stick of gum sold in any big box store, little box store that doesn't have what? Aspartame and or sucralose and or Acuflame K. Acuflame K puts cyst on your thyroid. Aspartame causes a big shift in the calcium and magnesium. Some claim it might even put formaldehyde in the brain. And then you have Splenda, and that's nothing but sugar with chloride, and it wipes out your gut bacteria. And this is the ingredients that's in everything called gum in the stores. So, I mean, a woman might be sitting there, and I walk by and I do this to the purse. And I'm not trying to see if she's got money. I want to see what kind of candy she's got in there. I want to see if she's got gum in there. I want to see if she's got diet halls. I want to know, because diet halls is full of aspartame, and people come in with these terrible problems, and I go, it's your Tums. No, it's not. I've been doing those for years. But the wife goes, no, you switched to diet Tums 2 years ago. And they don't put 2 and 2 together, so I have to be a detective. So this gentleman come in, and he was living on pop. Which pop was it? You said you drink a lot of pop. What pop?
Well, I don't drink pop, but I tell you, I do energy drinks.
No, you said you used to drink pop.
Well, yeah, years ago, but
what did you drink years ago?
Well, it was Coke and Pepsi. It was all that I was drinking.
Okay, so Coke, Pepsi, and Dr. Pepper have enough phosphoric acid in it that it drops 400 milligrams of magnesium per serving. Now, if I went up to this Amish gentleman and it says, well, your soil test says I'm going to put nothing but maybe 4 tons of phosphorus on the field. Now, he owns a company called Edit. He'd slap his knee, start laughing, and go, look, pal, let me show you where the road is. Because you don't know what you're talking about. There's no way I'm going to put that much phosphorus on my fields. But he has took his immune system and flooded it with phosphorus. In the process of neutralizing all this phosphorus, he's run out all of his key minerals and all of his macro and micro minerals. So what's the first ingredient of these colas? Well, it's not water, it's carbon dioxide dissolved into water, correct? Carbonic acid, carbonated beverages. What's the second ingredient? High fructose corn syrup. So fructose and boron go hand in hand. They go to the corn and they strip the boron away from the fructose. They concentrate the fructose. You drink the fructose, and what does it do? It leaches the boron out of your body. It takes it out of your brain. You lose your boron, what have you done? You now don't have the ability to retain what magnesium you did not waste from the phosphorus. So magnesium goes down really low, really, really low, and then you can't absorb calcium, you can't retain selenium, and this whole bombarding, cascading effect. You don't have a piece of gum, do you?
I don't. I have a flacker.
Oh, okay. It's just a cascading event. So did this guy get diabetic overnight? No. He just starts getting worse, and he gets more inflammation, more inflammation, more inflammation. And he goes to the doctor, and he says, I don't feel too good. He goes, oh, here, try some Tylenol. Hey, that stuff works pretty good. I have more. Now I can't move. So now I'm backed up 2 or 3 days. Oops, now my compost pile has gone from aerobic to anaerobic. Because everything is in there and it's fermenting. I don't know why I have so much gas. I don't know why I can't go, but I feel better. Well, that just wears off after a while because your gut gets so big and it gets stretched out. Now you got all these aerobic compounds going into your, they call it leaky gut. Look it up on the internet. So he just gets wrapped with inflammation. We'll get your homocysteine level checked. That tells you the state of DNA inflammation. And if your homocysteine is elevated, you've got to do things to bring it back. And that's what B vitamins are for. That's what your mineral profile is for, is you need to reduce inflammation. So do you instantly reverse diabetes? No, but what's a mineral you can take that has a profound effect on diabetes? It's called boron. Boron has to be present to make a cascade of minerals get back into you, and it has an effect on your ability to absorb insulin. You have a prostate problem? No prostate problem that you're aware of.
Yeah, right. Well, everything else is good, but just that, yeah, right.
Yeah. And I know what time of night calcium regenerates. So if you're low in magnesium, calcium becomes dominant and you cannot sleep. So what time of the night do you just spontaneously wake up?
All of the time, but I tell you, I hate getting out of bed. I go to bed earlier than I ever did probably the last 5 years.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I don't get a sound sleep, I don't think.
That's because you're profoundly low in magnesium. But people that are low in magnesium that may have normal calcium consumption, when calcium is going to regenerate, they wake up at 3 o'clock. That's that simple. I wake up, what are you doing? I don't know. I took a pee, laid around for a little bit, went back to bed, slept good after that, but they don't get past 3 o'clock. That's when you have a calcium-magnesium imbalance. So if you go, oh, no, I wake up at 2 o'clock, and I go, uh-oh. That means when your liver is in complete regeneration, it's very unhappy. What insulin are you taking?
I really don't know.
Now, well, when people have the wrong insulin or they have the wrong glucophage and it affects the liver, they wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I get older people, what time do you get up? Oh, I can't sleep past 2 o'clock in the morning. Oh, give me your list of meds. And we put it into a computer database that says, well, these 2 meds are causing you liver problems. One of the 2 has got to go. Go back to your medical doctor. Well, I didn't get that pill from him. I got that pill from this doctor. And I got that pill from that doctor. And nobody's looking over their shoulders. So if people wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning, I ask them what's wrong in here. At 2 o'clock, I want to know what's wrong with the liver. At 3 o'clock, I want to know what's wrong with the calcium-magnesium balance. At 4 o'clock, they're vitamin D deficient. Wow. If you wake up at 5 o'clock, get out of bed. That's the start of the day. It is.
And so what are you recommending for the calcium magnesium imbalance?
Take magnesium. Don't take no more calcium. If you're eating good organic food, you never worry about calcium. What's the base saturation of calcium to magnesium in your crops? 80-20?
75.
75, 80?
75.
So, yeah, I always talk 80-20 because that's what I was taught. And it varies from where you're at to what the soil looks like. But the human brain is 1-to-1. You know what it takes to grow a crop, and I know what it takes to make a human brain. The human brain, the calcium magnesium levels are 945 to 145. That's about as 1-to-1 as I'm going to get it. So if your food is calcium laden, calcium is never an issue. In Israel, 20 years ago, a bunch of doctors got together. They were tired of looking at their grandmothers falling and breaking their hips. And they hadn't invented biophosphates and this type of stuff that they poison people with now. And they basically said, okay, let's take a third of those grams and put them on magnesium. Let's take a third of those grams and put them on calcium, and a third of those grams on phosphorus. Well, phosphorus didn't do anything. They all got worse. Calcium, they didn't do anything. It got worse. And the magnesium group at 500 milligrams a day got 10% better. Oh, you mean just the daily recommended allowance of magnesium caused osteoporosis to reduce and regenerate at 10%? They go, oh, well, maybe we're not getting enough calcium, magnesium from the food. And that was the conclusion of the study. I'm looking at this going, oh, so you can reverse osteoporosis, and it takes magnesium. Well, now they know it takes vitamin D, they know it takes vitamin K, and there's a trace mineral called strontium. Now, maybe you've all heard of stem cells. It's like a baby cell that doesn't know what direction in life to go. And the one that makes bone can become skin. But in the presence of strontium, that stem cell swings towards bone. So we use strontium, magnesium, vitamin K, vitamin D, and boron to regenerate the bone structure. Yes?
So talk about the forms of magnesium and what you think is most assimilable, or is it individual?
Okay, so the question is, so everybody hears it, how many forms are there, and which ones do I like? I like a magnesium that anybody can take that they can get a lot of without having diarrhea. Now, that natural vitality, also known as calm, I understand the gentleman that owned it and sold it is at this conference, and I need to shake his hand because that's the #1 selling thing in my store. By far. Because I can put magnesium into people for pennies a day, but only 7 out of 10 people can take it. So we give them sample packs to make sure that they don't become a goose and get loose as a goose. Yes, question in the back.
The citrate form, are you okay with citrate?
I'm okay with anything you can get down. Now, magnesium oxide is the biggest one sold in box stores. And it only has a 7% assimilatable. And I actually use it in my product, but I'm not making a magnesium replacement product. I've got to move iodine, boron, and selenium 9 inches from the small intestine to the liver, and it works really well for what I'm using it for. I'm doing an iodine replacement, a selenium replacement, and a boron replacement, not a magnesium replacement, because I think that you should take magnesium separately. And all these key minerals, I think, should be taken standalone or very few of them together at one time. Dr. Olree, I got a pill right here. It's got 940 things in it, and I'm going, good. I bet you 940 things are at the bottom of your toilet. I know a guy named Scotty, and he owns Scotty's Potties. And when he dumps Scotty's Potties after conventions, and there's all them pills laying on the fields out there, and some lucky farmer now has all those vitamins and minerals to grind up into his soil. Because they just go through you. Yes, ma'am.
I was just going to say the owner of Metro Vitality is actually on the BFA board.
Oh, yeah.
He actually funded the initial BFA.
Oh, really?
organization.
Yeah.
So, power to him. My question is, what is a good source of selenium in your positive free?
Okay, so do you want me to go through the type of selenium you look for in a multiple vitamin to make sure you're not getting diabetic?
I don't want a multivitamin, I just want selenium.
Go buy Brazil nuts.
Brazil.
Brazil nuts. That is the highest source of selenium that you can readily buy.
But not all sources, not all Brazil nuts are equal.
Of course not. If you buy the ones that are shelled, the selenium's starting to evaporate. So if you can get the real ones, throw them in your freezer. They're a lot easier to break and pick the meat out of them if they're frozen, and you can keep them in your freezer for long periods of time.
The whole,
Yeah. But people bring multiple vitamins to me, and they go, what do you think of this multiple vitamin? Well, iodine is the most important, selenium is the second most important. So I based my entire thought process on anybody's pills based on the source of iodine. If it says iodine from kelp and selenium as selenomethionine, I don't care what else is in it. If it says potassium iodide and sodium selenate, throw it away. It's coming from China. 92% of the vitamins taken by America come from China. And they are bombing us one pill at a time because they are allowed to put aluminum-laced food colorings in multiple amounts. Woman's One A Day has 4 forms of aluminum-based food colorings in it. And then it has titanium dioxide in parentheses for color. Well, titanium dioxide is white, but yet they have 3 colors. Now, why do you want a pill to be white and colored at the same time? Very confusing label. So it's very important to understand your sources. So we won't carry anything in our store that's not organic. Yes. But bring back to the question.
I wanted to ask you about the form of iodine that you get at the Heritage Store, at the Casey Institute. I'm forgetting the name of it right now.
Well, let me answer your first question, which what forms of magnesium?
Yeah, that's good. Please go
Magnesium
on.
oxide is the least absorbable, and not everybody can take calm. You get diarrhea, go to a different kind of magnesium. But take it so that you have bowel tolerance. If you can find one you can take a lot more without having diarrhea, take it. Magnesium threonine. It's the most expensive on the block, and it's the newest on the block, and it's brain specific.
Wow.
Magnesium, and then the word, it's an amino acid, threonine, Theorinine, Theorinine, magnesium threonine. And it's brain specific. And when people come in and go, that's giving me diarrhea, that's giving me diarrhea, that's giving me diarrhea, we put them on Mag T, they don't get diarrhea from that one. Yes.
I've had a lot of experience with Natural Calm
Yep.
from Natural Vitality. And I just wanted to say, as far as, becoming loose or whatever, that if you start with a teaspoon, it's between a teaspoon and a tablespoon, and you can work yourself up slowly.
You can work yourself up, you can.
So that's a way to go about it if you're concerned about that. The other thing I think is really important about that product is, for example, I work a lot at the computer and sometimes my muscles can kind of seize up a little bit. And it relaxes the muscles. I
Right.
find it incredibly important for me in that regard. Or if you get muscle cramps,
Yep.
that's really a sign you need magnesium.
Well, the regeneration time of magnesium is 7 o'clock at night. So you can take it with your dinner, but I tell people to take it before bed because you want it in your gut when calcium is going to regenerate at 3 a.m., especially if you want to sleep past 3 a.m. Now, if you give a 15-year-old a glass of Calm at 7 in the morning, he doesn't like to use the toilet in the school. And he'll be running there 4 times in one class and he'll probably get expelled because he smells or something. So you got to be careful when you use Calm. I have people go down to the store. They used to just send you all kinds of samples, and I'd say, look, try this. Now they have a box. It costs $3, and it's got all the flavors in it. And I go, look, take this home, do one a day, and tell me what flavor you like. They're getting acclimated to it, and I says, if you buy a flavor you're not going to like, I'm going to guarantee you a year from now that is going to be sitting on the shelf. So you might as well get something you like so that you'll take it. Because people are very peopleish. I say, look, you got diabetes, and you got this and this, and you start doing this calcium, and you clean your magnesium, and you clean your diet up, and everything is looking good. You work yourself off the insulin. 6 months later, you'll go back right to what caused them. And they come back in, and I say, you need magnesium. They go, yeah, you told me that the last time. I still got the bottle. I go, you should be on your 4th bottle. It's just human nature for most people to get over whatever's wrong, and now I don't need that. When you do need these minerals every day. My friend David Brownstein says you need 25 milligrams of iodine every day for normal function. It's like, okay, how many meals of fish from the ocean do I need to eat to get 25 milligrams? Well, that'd be every meal, every day. How much sea kelp do I got to eat? Quite a bit. But for optimal function, you need that much. The United States government says you only need 50 micrograms of selenium. I see people, and I've never seen using selenium methionine anybody have any bad reactions from selenium. They just don't have it. The bad reactions from sodium selenate in the China vitamins is a 40% increase of type 2 diabetes.
Wow.
Because your body does not know when the next dose of selenium is going to come in. So it puts it in the pancreas and it shuts the pancreas down. How important is selenium? It's on the tail and the head of every male seed.
How do you get tested for all this stuff that you're talking about and know what to take for it?
Well, that's a good question. I use hair screening. Hair is a biopsy. You don't have to punch holes in people. You don't have to drill holes. You don't have to anesthetize them. So you take hair in a prescribed place off the back of your head, so you're getting a current readout of the past month or two of what your hair is drawing out of yourself. And then they take it and we send it to Chicago and they burn it and they find out what kind of lights come out of it. And then they can tell you of the 38, they test the 38 of the 42 minerals found in the brain. They're soon probably going to be testing for 42 once they realize what's going on, without a doubt. So you get your hair tested, and then you consult with somebody that's got some experience at that, and I do that on Wednesdays.
How do we get in touch with you though to do that?
At the end of this, I'll have cards up here. You just take a card, you call up, you say, I'd like a hair test sent to me, and when the hair test comes in, then you call it, and we set up a time that we can both get together. When I get really busy, I use Saturday afternoons after morning hours, or all day Wednesday.
Can you do that over the phone?
I do that over the phone, I do it by Skype. I got a carrier pigeon, but he died on the last trip. So it's very easy to test. It doesn't, quite frankly, Joe does a hair test that is reaping with arsenic. I say, Joe, you better have your wife's hair tested. It's reaping with arsenic. I go, Joe, send your water in because I think your well's poisoned. And I condemn a well a week to arsenic, uranium once a month, lead every 6 months, aluminum a couple times a year. People look and they can see through it, and they go, there's nothing there, and they taste it, and they go, oh, it tastes good. Maybe it's not so good for you, though. And I love to go to a restaurant, and they say, would you like a glass of water? And I said, I am dying from when you actually have water.
What's the water filter you put in your son's dorm?
Oh, my son went off to college, and I about had a heart attack because I went to the city of Marquette, Michigan, And I typed in water quality report, and of course it said the fluoride is there for all college students' teeth. So I called up the academic advisor and I said, I've got a son with special needs who may not be able to come in. He says, we handle all special needs. What is your son? He's allergic to fluoride in the drinking water. He goes, huh? So it cost me $400 to buy and $400 to install a reverse osmosis GE right from Home Depot into his dorm room. And when the word got out, he actually had water. His door was unlocked and people all day, all night came in to get their water for that semester of dorm. Then they sent me a letter going, well, our records show he doesn't have a measles vaccine. He can't go there without a measles vaccine. I said, okay, what's wrong? He's done. Wouldn't let him go unless he was vaccinated. They didn't want an outbreak from one child that wasn't vaccinated. Sounds crazy, but that's what happens. So type 2 diabetes is a very bad thing. So my next question is, Joe, did you quit eating sugars now that you're diabetic?
Yes, I did.
You know what most people say? What's that got to do with it? So we have a sugar issue. This guy named Peter DiMano came out with a book, Eat Right for Your Blood Type. What is he trying to do? He's trying to make your microbiome function with the right sugars to grow the right bacteria. So I tell people, look, there's a list of do's and don't eats. You've got to have some guidance. It gives them something to start with. It says, wait, these I cannot eat at all. These I have to eat now. And after I feel better, I can drift into the gray area. And once you've got a handle of your body, then you can eat things that's off the reservation and you'll know right away if it reacts to you. Because what do diabetic people have to do? They have to keep checking their sugar levels. So Joe says, well, my sugar is this way and it's this way and it's this way. And, oh, I'm just a real hard case. I've never seen anything like it. Joe, they see it every day of the week. And that's what they tell everybody. Never seen anything like it. That means, well, what's happening here? The pancreas makes the insulin, but what stores it? The liver. So when he monster drinks his liver, it dumps all the glucose and then sugar up, sugar down. So he's got to get his liver straightened out because that's the storage area for insulin. It's made in the pancreas, but it's stored in the liver. When people are fluctuating in every direction, and what did he tell me today? He says, you know, since I've been here and had a monster drink, and I'm feeling better now than I felt in a long time. Why do people take monster drinks? Because they have to go to work. And if I don't feel well enough to go to work, I can't make money. If I can't make money, I can't pay for my truck, and I can't pay for my house, and I can't buy city water. So diabetes is a really bad deal. It ends up being nothing but a state of inflammation, and the state of inflammation, and you lose control of sugar. What disease loves sugar? I'll give you an idea. They do PET scans to find out where the sugar's going. Cancer. It's a bad deal. So my dad has got, terminal cancer. He goes, oh, my cancer's gone. I said, what do you mean? Well, my PET scan didn't show anything. And then, Dad, you didn't drink 6 beers before the test. I said, if you load it up with sugar, you'll be in that active cancer site. Because that's what they're measuring. They put a radioactive dye that attaches to sugar, and then where the fastest metabolism is going on, it's using the sugar, that's where the dye ends up. And then they can see the hot spots of cancer metabolism because the rate of sugar is so high. So that, yes.
So what is how would you say it's best to detoxify the liver? Or is it
there's various, milk thistle, obviously, is the first one. There's a company that makes what's called a Himalayan detox. I have no idea what herbs are in it, but it works the best. It's a bright orange bottle. It says Himalayan liver detox. I use the Now brand liver detox. And I try to get people to make common sense about what they're putting into their mouth. I go, look, eat right for your blood type. Tell me what your blood type is, and I'll give you the do's and the don'ts. And if you follow that religiously for at least 2 months, it gets you into a different pattern of what you're doing. And then I look for the culprit. I mean, are you chewing these gums bought at big stores? Are you, where is it at? You always can find where that little niche is that they don't have a clue the long-term consumption what it's doing. Lady came in and says, look, you have to stop drinking aspartame. I says, this stuff is going to give you leukemia. It's just a bad deal. And she got off it, and 3 years later, she got full-blown leukemia. So people come in and, well, I quit the pop 6 months ago, and I said, you still have a hangover. I said, you depleted yourself for a lot of years just because you quit putting in the poison. Don't mean that you're now absorbing and have rebuilt everything that you got so haywire from these continuous consumption. So people can come in 6 months later after stopping all these colas with all these deficiency symptoms that were supposed to go away when they quit drinking it. It's because they never put the stuff back in or don't have the ability to absorb what they're eating. Heaven forbid buy organic food. I live in a very poor area, and it's a universal, I can't afford organic food. I said, you go to Myers right now, some of the organic food is cheaper than the conventional food. You better start looking at the labels because the disparity between the two is really starting to get more of a level playing field. Well, yeah, how do you really know it's organic? And I said, well, they got, jails and fines for people that get caught doing this. Maybe it's organic and it's not. They get caught, they're like anything else, you can get penalized pretty good and get slapped around if you want to. I said, but to me, it's the best shot I got because I know that if you take a single field that's never been planted and you got a bag of alfalfa and you plant that and harvest it, put 1 dose of glyphosate, and then plant that other half a bag the next year, the mineral content of that plant is from 50 to 52% reduced. There was no mineral unscathed in terms of reduction. Did it look the same as yep, it's an empty harvest. Looks and smells like food, but it just doesn't have the mineral content or the energy. Yes, Gina?
Anything for sugar cravings while you're detoxing?
Okay, the question is, sugar cravings is B vitamins. Chocolate cravings is iodine. Because why can't you give chocolate to your dog? Because it kills them. What's in it that kills them? Bromine. So why do you think that they dub fibrocystic breast chocolate cyst? Because the caffeine and the bromine causes a shift of potassium into the tissue. And if the tissue is an irritant, then it causes scar tissue. So people that have fibrocystic uterus, fibrocystic breast are chronically low in iodine. They may be on Synthroid or something. They may have dealt with a thyroid problem and high caffeine. So you got to really back off the caffeine, if not eliminate it, get the iodine brought up, and then the liver will pull that potassium back out and you can reverse these cysts. And these cysts can get the size of golf balls or grapes in the uterus and the ovaries. And in the breast, all they do is they go, yeah, you got really dense breast. And they send you for all kinds of x-rays. Every time they look at that, they go, oh, this could be really bad. You go home, you lose sleep. And they go, nope, this is just a dense breast.
So we talked about sources of magnesium, sources of selenium, iodine, and boron.
Okay, so the 2 types of boron that are instantly assimilatable by the body is called calcium borogluconate. This has been in the hands of the vets since the 40s for milk fever. And fructoborate. Otherwise, on the market, it's called Fruit B. One costs $8, one costs $36. The greatest research is in the expensive one, Fruit B, because it drives into cancerous breast tissue, it drives into the knees, it's a great anti-inflammatory. So when the body encounters the right kind of boron, what does it do? It instantly goes to the brain, and when the brain is satisfied, it goes to the bone, and then it ends up in the kidneys for excretion. It's water soluble, so a lot of it that you put in ends up going right out. And generally speaking, the higher sources of boron are fruits, although a lot of things can't live without it. It's just the highest sources of fruits, and prunes are the highest source. Selenium is Brazil nuts, prunes and raisins is boron, and if you really want to go overboard, the highest source of boron I've ever seen is the research done on dandelion root. It goes from 5 to 6 milligrams to 900.
And that's right out in your yard.
Right out in your yard. So if you're a farmer and you need to get this bioavailable, what do you plant in your fields on the year you don't plant things? Red clover. Red clover is the great boron turnover.
And that's a foraging option too.
It's a foraging option. But that gets that boron out of the soil in a form that the animals can eat, and then your plants can, it's far more bioavailable. How important is boron to the farm field? Boron deficiency is the #1 reason for corn crop failure in the world. Yes?
Boron.
Boron. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm raw vegan, and everybody's always telling me about B12 deficiencies.
It happens to a lot of vegans.
Okay, so what do you recommend is a great source for B12?
Cobalt?
And where do I get that?
Animal meat, no, I'm just kidding.
I mean, I probably have with my paint if I eat it, but I don't think I'm gonna eat it.
I should know the answer to that question, but I just don't know it off the top of my head right now.
Brewer's yeast.
Somebody else can answer it.
Brewer's
So,
yeast.
I mean,
Brewer's yeast?
B12 is just like bacteria food. I mean, that's all it is. It's
Right.
vegans and people that eat animal products and B12 deficiency, exactly the same. It's the reason why, you get it from, you got some B12 from
Molasses.
eating cows and chickens is because they're covered in feces. So, in terms of, getting like a really good B12, it seems like, make your own kraut. And, yeah,
I probably don't have a deficiency then. I just always hear people screaming, oh, you're raw vegan, you're gonna, die.
Well, a lot of times, people don't know that they're vegan, that they are B12 deficient until they break a bone.
Right.
Because in order to keep your bones healthy, B12 has to pull manganese into the system. A basketball player from the 70s, late 60s, Abdul Jabbar, yeah, he was a vegan. All of a sudden, he bends over and breaks a bone and finds out that he's been so chronically B deficient that his body didn't pull manganese in and he had osteoporosis as a direct result of not being able to hydrolyze his food from stomach acids. Stomach acids require B12 to be made, but you also have to have B12 to make stomach acid. This is what came first. That's called that intrinsic factor. So when people come in and they, they're terribly deficient in stuff, they're not making stomach acids. I just put them on stomach acid pills, and I put them on B12 and try to get that whole system fired back up again. Some people have to go on hydrochloric acid the rest of their life.
But what are you using for B12? What is your?
A sublingual B12, it's an animal free from biotics research. So you do the sublingual so it goes through the mucous membranes of your mouth, into your bloodstream, into your lymphatics, and it's a very good way. I think it's a lot better way than just shooting stuff into your arms or legs or something, because you got a tongue that's got 18,000 receptors on it. Well, they're going to recept something when you stick it in your mouth.
So the leaky gut would be this too, right? The stomach acid pills and the B12?
Yeah, well, when people ferment their food instead of digest their food, you look at these intestines, and instead of being like a little round thing going around, they're this big around. And it's because the intestines are so backed up with fecal material that is fermenting and filling full of gas, and it stretches right out. All they got is a bellyache. You look at it at X-ray, like, holy mackerel, you're going to blow up. Well, then you've taken that balloon and you've just got it so stretched out that all the tight junctions are really stretched out, and then materials can leak across that. And it gets into your lymphatic system, and either you deal with it effectively or you don't. So that's a really big deal. Okay, so much for diabetes.
Sorry, could you say one more time what it was for sugar cravings? The deficiency?
Oh, sugar is B vitamins.
B vitamins,
Yeah.
right, okay.
And that calcium was calcium
Calcium borogluconate.
or
Calcium borogluconate. There's like boron citrates, there's boron gluconates, but in the readings that I've done, the only two that I'm going to use is calcium borogluconate, which is what I use in my product, and fructose B. And I take 5 of those pills a day.
Fructose B, 5 a day?
Yeah, the fruit B I take 5 a day. Because it'll naturally raise testosterone, it'll naturally lower estrogen in both species, it gives you better hand-eye coordination, it makes your short-term memory better, makes your long-term memory better, and your prostate markers for boron deficiencies is the PSA goes up. When your PSA goes up, you better start eating a lot of boron to drive those numbers back down. Because you keep elevating that PSA, then you're going to have somebody putting a finger where the sun doesn't shine and say, we got to do a biopsy. The lady behind you there.
This is kind of shut nerd, but I'm just curious if you have any thoughts on it. So my mom, when she eats gluten, she can't breathe. It's really terrifying to watch. But so for a long time, these incidents would happen where she'd be laboring.
Yep.
She went to the doctor. They did all these scopes and everything, and they're like, "Oh, we can't find anything. You're totally normal."
Okay, so for every reaction, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And I look at everything in terms of the flow of magnetic energy. And the last speech I showed how everything has an equal and opposite reaction. The opposite of the lungs is the large intestine. So you back up the lymphatic drainage from the large intestine, and there's nothing in the lungs to keep the fluids moving. They back up, and people come in coughing mucus like you wouldn't believe. So I need to get the intestines cleaned out, so I put them on a green drink. I have them take a head of romaine lettuce and a peck of parsley and put it in water, grind it, let it sit for a little bit, and then strain it and drink one of those a day. And about between day 4 and day 6, everything breaks loose. All the mucus is going out the front door, not the back door, and when all the mucus gets out of the system, breathing becomes very good again. And the bowels are obviously going to move when you put this kind of chlorophyll into the system. But people, oh, I go every day. Great. Eat some corn tonight and tell me how long it takes to come out the other end. What do you mean? Poop and look at it. Amazing how many people don't look at their poop. It's like, what was that? I don't know. So you don't digest corn. Tastes good. Maybe you get a lot of benefit out of the salt and the butter that you put on it, but you don't really digest it, and it's a really good marker to know how long food is in your system. In Great Britain, food stays in the system an average of 36 to 48 hours. Colon cancer is number 2. Down in the Amazon, where they eat and defecate in 8 hours, they don't know what cancer is.
And MS.
8
also,
hours.
yeah.
Big difference on how you run your microbiome. Your next question.
Yeah, my question is, so iodine, selenium, boron, magnesium, are you willing to quickly run through bacteria, virus, fungi?
Oh, that's a good question. Boron is used by all plants in response to fungal infection to make resveratrol. Or it's nicknamed reversidol. Because resveratrol is made to protect from fungus. So when you take resveratrol, the anti-aging effects are so overwhelming that the drug companies want their hands on it so bad you might not be able to buy it next year. Because they're trying to say, oh, this is really too good for you to have. You have to pay a lot more money for it. Glaxo Wellcome paid David, I can't think of his last name, he's interviewed by Barbara Walters, $650 million for his patent on resveratrol, and next year it was on the open market. So boron and resveratrol work together hand in hand at reducing fungus. So what does the Mayo Clinic say about fungus? 98% of sinus infections are fungal in nature. Why would you take an antibiotic for a fungus? So if you've got this fungus growing in your sinuses, you're either swallowing it or inhaling it or suffering from it. So you take something to kill it. So you get what's called a neti pot. And you put a little bit of ground up salt in there, and you put 1 drop of tea tree oil per side, and you get a direct application of salty neti pot tea tree oil, and you do an extrication, you get that fungus out of your nose so you're not breathing it. So that's the fungal side of things. On the viral side of things, selenium. From what I can see, selenium is the best antiviral thing there is. So you've heard of Mrs. Smith, who got the flu for 2 weeks, and she got a little bit better, then she relapsed. Well, her body finally figured out the genetic code to the virus that was making her sick, and at the speed of mutation, that virus says, oh, we know what this game is, and it mutates into another one, and she gets re-sick again. But if you have the selenium present, once you figure out the genetic code, you stay ahead of the virus's mutation. Everybody has a touch of mono in them. Everybody has a touch of the Epstein-Barr. But yet 65% of all cancers are virus-related. The number of people that march into my office going, I've got cancer, I go, what virus do you have? They go, what are you talking about? I'm sure it's in this stack of paperwork. They don't look for the viruses. My mother's sister's granddaughter let her immune system down because she got pregnant. Because if you have a high immune system, you don't get pregnant. So your immune system goes down to nothing. She had mono when she was 14. A year after she has a baby, she's in the hospital having acute lymphocytic leukemia. I go, well, I haven't looked that one up yet. And when I got through writing her a paper, I found out that there was 325 articles on the Epstein-Barr virus. It's like, oh, that's a no-brainer. And Arlene, did your granddaughter have mono? Yeah, she had it when she was 14. She got it again. So the viruses are very tricky. They live at their residence, but they give you a false address. So if the virus is living inside the cell, the false address is outside the cell. Here, this is where I live. So they make 9 million, 100 billion white blood cells seeking that virus out, but it's looking in the wrong spot. And when you get sick, they go, oh my God, you got leukemia. we have to knock these white blood cells down to save your life. She's been in the hospital for 3 weeks taking chemotherapy. They haven't looked for the virus. Routine. So selenium keeps these viruses under control. So, onboard human bodies, P53. That's the name of the gene. The guardian of the genetic code is what it's dubbed. Now, it's estimated that 2 out of 3 people walking the face of the earth have selenium deficiency. Oh, that's just about the same rate as cancer. P53 does not work without selenium. Now, the iodine factor. What's the biggest loss of iodine in the human body? The skin. Why is it there? Control all the stuff that lives on it. But we wash the iodine off every day. Do we put as much iodine into the body that we wash off? That's why we need so darn much iodine. Because we keep losing it. So people go, well, I put iodine in my arm and it lasted an hour. Well, that's good. At least it didn't last more than 10 minutes. Some people have the iodine. Is that a good test? I don't think so. I think you should pee in a cup and send, you should take a bunch of Lugol solution, pee in a cup and send it off and find out your bromide, fluoride, and your iodine levels. Send it to Colorado, the Hanukkah lab. Know your base saturation. Farmers know what base saturation is for the soil. You need to know your base saturation for iodine. It's the heaviest, most important mineral that runs the entire hormone system. But iodine don't work alone. It's got to have selenium. So you got iodine for bacteria, you got selenium for virus, you got boron for fungus, and you got magnesium for bacteria. 1984, women were dying right and left from what's called toxic shock syndrome. You want to learn a lot about it? Go back to the Detroit News or the Detroit Free Press in April of 1984. It all came down to magnesium deficiency. Women that have severe magnesium deficiencies have heavy, clotty menstruation. So they need really absorbing napkins, and that caused the body to lose even more magnesium. And the common bacteria found everywhere called Staphylococcus aureus now lives in the bloodstream and kills them. So low magnesium levels was the cause of Staphylococcus sepsis. And I didn't get that out of the book. I got that out of the Detroit Free Press. So I look at that, oh boy, this is my early stages. You know, I'm just like, wow, only 3 years into practice and I can do everything. It's like when my son knew it all, I said, well, I'd make a good living, share some with me. So that's the answer to your question. Yes.
And what was the name of the test for iodine that you recommended? You said
The Hanukkah, the lab from Hanukkah. Okay. Norton always wants to sell me something even after I bought it. So when I pull that up, I can chew gum and talk at the same time. Next question, yes.
Most of us probably have had Lyme, and at least half of us have thyroid issues, so if those can work into the time.
I couldn't hear a thing you said.
Oh, sorry. A lot of us might have experienced Lyme's disease. Anything you recommend on that? And half the room statistically has thyroid issues.
Well, I don't think I ever want to get Lyme's disease.
No, you don't want to get it.
I don't ever want to get it. I'm so petrified of Lyme's disease that living in northern Michigan, I don't go outside anymore in the summer. And if I get a tick on me, I'm a lunatic. I almost crashed a car. Because my lady friend has a cottage and I had 4 ticks on me. She's like, you got a tick on your neck. Where? At 70 miles an hour, pulling a big trailer. She's like, it's not there, straighten the thing out. We're all over the road. And we're pulling on, I'm taking my shirt off. I'm down to the side of a busy highway in my underwear, and she's looking for me. And where all the sun places don't go. This is the laboratory to find out your base saturation of iodine. The Lyme's virus is a very unique virus, bacteria, in the fact that every bacteria in your body lives off the iron. Lyme's lives off of manganese.
Wait, bacteria lives off the iron?
All bacteria somehow derive their energy because of iron. Lyme's lives off of manganese. So if M-A-N-G, manganese.
Oh, manganese, okay.
So where's manganese at? Well, it's concentrated in your joints. It's used by your liver. It's used by the testicles. So if I got a tick bite and I got that rash, I'm going to go get myself as poisoned as I could get from antibiotics, because I do not want that going any further than the initial stage, because it's going to migrate into my joints where white blood cells can't get. And when it does start to get, when my immune system says, hey, we got a handle on this, the Lyme's bacteria plays possum. It just folds over and has no protein antigens that the immune system sees, and it goes to sleep until its sensor says, well, we can wake up and be active again. It's time to reproduce. So when you get, nobody's ever gotten rid of Lyme's that I'm aware of yet. And I have always had to look out for Lyme's. The head MD is in the same tank I'm in with David Brownstein, and there's nothing new. Now, the best research I've seen so far is coming out of Boston University, and they're finding an extract of the stevia plant that may knock this out, may knock it down. And there is an herb that Rubus Stelfos is growing down at Lancaster Ag, and I don't know the name of it, so I haven't memorized it yet. I've looked at it, but I can't draw it up right now. That shows promising relief to keep the critters asleep for longer periods of time. Because it's devastating. It just wreaks havoc.
There's a great article in the European Journal about stevia.
Yeah.
If you look at Lyme disease and stevia, it's got great microscopic views of what it does to the biofilms.
The biofilm.
Destroying the biofilm and destroying the Lyme too.
Yeah,
but the dry powder didn't work at all.
I haven't seen what works yet. I mean, you know, when that magic pill comes out, somebody's going to sit in the beach for the rest of his life.
There were three different companies that they bought from England, and it was all tinctures.
And they found that it's working.
Yeah, fabulous.
No, you know, there's controversy whether people have Lyme's or not. So you go to the doctors and they do these IV bands, and you know, they have all these different proteins. And if you got, I think, IV number 23, or maybe it's number 6, well, you've got it. Well, my one buddy that's got it, he says, Richard, he says, live cell analysis. He says, go have your blood taken out and set it on the shelf for 3 days. And then look at it on live cell analysis. Because if it's in the blood, they all came awake and they're all active, and then you can see them all. But you can't see when you do the live cell analysis when it's fresh. He says you've got to let the blood sit 3 days and then put it on there, and then you'll see all them spirochetes. Yes.
Is the fact that the spirochetes are eating all the manganese what causes the joint pain?
Yep.
So we need the manganese.
Well, yeah, I mean, people, when it first happened, they didn't even know what it was, and all the people that muscle test goes, oh my God, you need manganese. I mean, you know, holy mackerel, your joints are terrible. You got to have more manganese, because the spirochetes was using it all, and they were loading people up with manganese, and all they were doing is feeding the fire.
Yeah, so what do you do?
Well, that's the paradox. I have been on the lookout for stuff for as long as I've known about Lyme's. I won't go outside. I own a lake in northern Canada. When it's Lyme's time, I just go to my lake as often as I can, because I'm not afraid to go outside because the bugs aren't up there yet. And a couple of winters ago, it got down to 35 below zero. We had less ticks, but this last year, it never got cold enough. I mean, you just go outside, and I was in a garage in there dropping out of the rafters on me.
Yep.
And it's the hairy tick Lyme's from deer that you got to worry about.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I got Lyme disease, and I had tested a couple different years. I had different times, and what's weird is I always thought it was the weather for arthritis, because when it hits, it felt like I got thrown out of a vehicle doing 50 miles an hour. I mean, I'm so heavy joint and everything. Yep. But I found out it was the weather. I think it's my immune system. If I get a lot of sleep and I eat good and do real good, my immune system's up. I'll tell you, it fights it a lot better.
And that's when these things curl back up and go into a hibernation state. That's why people never, ever really get rid of Lyme's. They just get it to go to sleep.
Right.
Got to hypnotize it for a while. Yes, in the back, ma'am.
Can you go back to the thyroid question?
Yes.
Go back to the
Well, what was the thyroid question?
She had the thyroid question about it.
What was the question?
Just talk about it since.
All right, we'll just finish Lyme's. Good luck. Because I don't know how to make it go away. And every time there's a new book that's got the 10 best remedies for Lyme's, they each got their protocols, and none of it makes it go away. It's just how they help people control it. Yes, ma'am.
Are you familiar with the scalar technology?
The what, scalar?
Scalar, S-C-A-L-A-R.
The question is, do I know about using electromagnetic energy to try to figure out the frequency of these things and zap myself? I know enough about a wipe machine.
It's not zapping, sorry. It's, you give your photograph, and it's supposed to treat 300,000 pathogens, and give you up to 300 nutrients and clear your chakras. It's done, you give a photograph to them. They're in California. I've worked with it. On
Polaroid
and
or
off.
digital?
Digital's fine. So, it's really worth taking a look at because I've done it for months at a time and I would form.
What is
Scalar, Scalar. I'm just trying to think of his name. I'll think of his name. It's Tom, I'll think of it. Palladino. Tom Palladino or Scalar. And so it treats all the co-infections of Lyme and all viruses and bacteria and fungi. And then it's adding these nutrients with your picture. It's
Energy?
it's an energy technology, and I've worked with it off and on for the
Do you
last
have
couple of
Lyme
years.
too?
No, I did, or I have had, but I would
Okay.
say no, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I had it for a short period of time, and actually a spiritual teacher that works with me seems to have done that, and I did 2 injections of colloidal silver, nanoparticle silver.
Yeah.
And that seems to have gotten it, unfortunately, right away before I could identify with it.
Yeah.
So, but this technology, I really recommend taking a look because I've worked with it quite a bit and had some amazing results with it. So you can take it for 3 months minimum. They have, if you form a group, it's less expensive.
Okay.
So maybe $60 a month if you think of supplements, 2 supplements that you would take. That would equal $60 a month. Anyway, I really suggest
Well,
that.
Lyme's is to me
Palladino.
up in the air because the best thing I've seen in research, periodic research is that, and there's always the alternative stuff that works.
Yeah, if you have something viral and then you do that therapy or do it for a few months, it will clear it, then you know it works. If you don't have a specific thing, you may go, oh, I'm not sure, if it's working or not. But if you have herpes or some other virus or something specific, maybe Lyme
Co-infections.
Co-infections, they have all the co-infections. There's 300,000 different pathogens. And they have a question and answer on Thursday evenings you could do online. Whatever.
Well, there's 10,000 unique species of bacteria in your gut, so there's probably lots more pathogens out there. Your belly's full of viruses, but there's a lot of good viruses that we need, and they all need to be tamed and harnessed and utilized, and I think selenium is good. Now, I have to go back because the question was thyroid. What specifically do you want me to answer about the thyroid?
Mineral deficiencies, mineral supplements,
Okay.
biological.
Well, the thyroid
Diet.
absolutely, positively has to have iodine, and it's estimated that at least 80 to 85% of the United States does not get enough iodine, and we have rampant thyroid problems going on in people and they don't know it.
Yes.
And there's a, yes ma'am.
I've taken etomidine. I was trying to think of that, the name of it. So etomidine comes out of the Edgar Cayce Institute, and I don't know exactly what the difference is between that and iodine. I'm wondering if you're familiar.
I don't know anything about somidine.
Etomidine.
I'm not familiar with it at all.
Okay, all right. So-
In my practice, I use biotics research and I use standard process as the stuff that I've been prescribing for 35 years more. But there's a lot of good stuff out there. That's because I don't know about it, doesn't mean it's not good. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. I've stayed away from multi-level products, and there's a lot of good multi-level products out there. Because when you put multi-level products in front of patients, you look greedy. And I just don't do that. I mean, I've seen that a lot. Your question?
Thorley kelp, is that what you have?
What?
Thorley kelp, is that what?
Yeah, I use Dwarven kelp in my stuff, yeah.
And they have a real high iodine.
Yeah, well, to get enough kelp in a 3 milligram, the pill would be pretty big, you wouldn't be able to swallow it. So I do have potassium iodine and sea kelp because I need that broad spectrum of trace minerals found in kelp. You'd be eating handfuls of kelp to get 3 milligrams. So
I understand there's, one is low, Thorley kelp iodine, and then there's one that's really high.
I haven't talked to Eli. I'll talk to Eli next week at Acres, and I'll be asking that question because I'm supposed to go to, I was supposed to go last summer, it didn't work out. I think next summer I'm going to go to Iceland to where they process it. And go in the middle of the summer so I can have air conditioning in Iceland. So going back to the thyroid, iodine deficiency the longer your iodine deficiency, the worse it gets. And if you think, oh, if I need iodine, and you really have an iodine problem and eat a lot of iodine, and your immune system gets really pissed off, you get an autoimmune disease, and it's really hard to get rid of. So you just don't suddenly blast all kinds of iodine in your system. You work up slowly. You find out your base saturation and see how well you're absorbing it. And you've got to flush the fluorides out of your body, which is with selenium and boron. And you've got to get the bromines out of the body, which is chloride, as in sodium chloride. And sometimes you have to use lithium to get the sodium-potassium balances in your thyroid working better. But iodine is the key. And you've got to have selenium to make the iodine work. You know, you have high thyroid, you have low thyroid, you have autoimmune thyroid. Where does it all start? It starts from trace mineral deficiencies. I've done a lot of research with the thyroid, and I don't find where viruses get in and trigger these. It's usually something else. And I really don't have all the answers. But you have all these hormones in your body that are 100% dependent on the thyroid hormone. And if iodine can be displaced and replaced with fluoride, it behooves you to stay away from fluoride. Because people get fluoride in their system, and I don't think the body knows the difference, and it makes products out of fluoride instead of iodine. That's the wrong size, the wrong shape, and you blood test it, it goes, no, you're normal. Your eyes could be bugging out, you could have bags underneath your throat, you can put 50 pounds on because they test the thyroid-stimulating hormone, which isn't even a thyroid product. It's the signal from the brain to the thyroid to go to work. That's what they test, and then you go, no, you're okay. It takes about $1,000 worth of testing to check all the profiles to try to work with the thyroid. You got to have a lipid panel, you got to have a vitamin D panel, you got to have the antibodies checked, you got to check your T3, your T4, your T3 free, your T4 free. There's a lot of stuff you got to check to try to figure out where it's at. In the state of Michigan, I've only recently been able to get blood work, and since I'm not going to be doing that clinical aspect, I don't order the blood work. I turn it over to David Brownstein and his associates when I've got really bad cases. It's just like this young lady. It's easy to identify. Stand up and show them. She came in here last night, we were talking. I started looking at her, I'm like, oh my God, this one eye's really big. She's in Graves' disease. And we talked quite a bit, and I said to her last night, I said, you know, you can't do this alone because you're trying to self-doctor. You need someone that knows this stuff really good. I said, you're going to get a heart problem. What did you say? I'm doctoring for my heart right now. What is the #1 cause of heart disease? Thyroid problems. And so when you start having heart disease, you go to cardiologists. Well, they're going to treat the heart. Right? That's why they're heart doctors. You don't want heart disease, you keep your thyroid working really good. That is the bottom line. That cardiovascular disease is secondary to chronic thyroid problems, insufficiencies, abnormal balances. So you can't say enough about getting it fixed. And I don't claim to be the wherewithal. I know people that do that. So I wrote my buddy David Brownstein last night. I said, what do you know in Manhattan? And he emailed me back and gave me the name of a doctor that she's going to see because she's from New York. She's going to call this doctor up and deal with a holistic doctor that just doesn't say, here's some radiation for your thyroid. We're going to kill it, and I'll be able to regulate it for as long as I live. Then you have somebody else that will give it to you. Then you go on to synthetic thyroid medicine. You go to the doctor and you're depressed, and they give you some fluoride antidepressants. In 30 days, you got to double the thyroid medicine. Not a good deal. So the next subject, what would we guess?
You expand on silver. You didn't
I don't use silver.
You didn't seem too happy with silver colloids.
I just don't use silver.
And also, I've got a couple silver fillings that, you know,
They're not silver. They're not silver.
come out, whatever
They're
you call it.
65% mercury.
Mercury,
And there's a lot of nickel in there.
whatever you call it. Is there a real urgency to get those out, or is...
That's a very good
if I'm
question.
taking the right supplement, the right
If
mineral...
you're taking a lot of selenium and you can bind it up and keep it moving through your system, that's one option. Or you can have them removed. And assuming the dentist doesn't let you swallow anything or you breathe it in.
urgency? I can
What-
wait until it's...
What are you going to put in? What are you going to pay someone to put in? A composite. I've got some composites, and I've seen the glasses they put on, and they put this thing in my mouth, and they go like this. So the composite can get super hard in 35 seconds. There's only one mineral that allows that type of energy activity. It's the same mineral that puts a man on the moon. It's the same mineral that makes an F-16 go past the speed of sound, and that's fluoride. So now your teeth are designed to do what? Grind. You want to grind fluoride into every meal and every bite? I'm taking my chances with the amalgam. Because I know if I take enough selenium, I can keep moving this through.
So what do I take to counteract the composites there?
Selenium.
Same?
Selenium. Oh, the composites?
Yeah.
Iodine.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
You talked about the importance of silica.
Yes.
Is diatomaceous earth a good source of bioavailable silica?
It's a good question. I don't know the answer. I know that they make liquid silica, and you've got horsetail that's got silica. Professor Chris Exlier says that salic acid, naturally found in spring waters, is the best way to get aluminum out of your body. People promote silica to get aluminum out of their body, and he says it doesn't work that way. I think if people want to get silica the cheapest way possible, go buy gelatin. Because ground up fingernails, and it's just full of silica. Well, that's not necessarily the answer you wanted to hear. But they make, I got a health food store full of silica. We got 3 different kinds. We got liquid silica. Yeah,
So you don't know about diatomaceous earth?
I do know about it. I got a jar of it. I sell it. And it's great for ants and all kinds of things.
Right. But it's not a good bioavailable source of
There's
silica?
some
I don't know
better
enough to say you.
sources.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, there are better sources.
I don't know enough about
That's a
the
bit my
question.
field, so I'd be happy to talk to you about that.
Yeah, is it silica? Yeah, it's a diatom. It's just all silica. I would rather put it on the plants and eat the plants. Potatoes, tomatoes, green peppers, and eggplants are really high on the silics. So, trying to get everything from your food. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I was wondering if you talk about strep throat. I've gotten it like every year since 3rd grade.
Okay, so the answer is an immune system that's not able to take care of strep. You do a stool test and you'll find out what is growing in the strep field, and most of the time what you can use when we see this in the stools, you probably have strep A, strep B, or a non-hemolytic strep. It's rampant in your gut. There are many people that live with raging strep infections in their system. And then when it goes to the throat, it becomes symptomatic. But this is growing in your intestines. And a stool sample from doctor's data will show that. But they don't tell you what kills the strep. What we use is oregano oil. Oregano oil really knocks down those, and normally if you have the 4th cervical in your neck worked on, there's something to do with the frequency in the nerves that get your lymphatics to open up and make your tonsils work a little bit better, create more white blood cells because your tonsils are the first line of defense. And people, I had mine taken out, they're infected. Maybe they're secreting something to try to help you out. I had mine taken out when I was sick, unfortunately.
Your tonsils?
They grew back. So get a stool test, but when you get the stool test back, it gives you all the known grouping of bacteria that are supposed to be there. Then it gives you stuff that's really overgrown that you're only supposed to have a little bit of. And you always see the hemolytic strep A, and strep B in that column. When I see that, I just use oregano oil every 12 hours for 2 months, and then retest the stools to see if you got rid of it. And other people, I did it for a week and I felt better, and I'm done. It's just the way people are. Next question.
Could you just talk about nail health?
Nail health?
Yeah,
Silica.
as a source. Also,
If you see them all goofed up and stuff, the nails, well, that's an iron problem.
drying, like brunel.
Well, yeah, you need healthier nails. So I would start off with silica, and what really makes nails come back good is chlorella, that algae from the ocean, chlorella. Silica, and if you have fungus in your nails, you have a boron problem. And if you have white spots in your fingernails, you have a zinc deficiency. Yes?
I'd like to understand the mechanism a little better. Because of the deficiencies, there are minerals in there we don't want, and we want to swap them out with ones that we do want, there's replacement going on. Do you need to detox to get the stuff out and then substitute, or can you just start eating and help, different food choices, and your body will hot swap stuff out for you?
cadmium, lead, mercury, barium, beryllium, thorium, silver, tin, all need selenium. There's no selenium in the soil east of the Mississippi, and west of the Mississippi it's the wrong kind of selenium that poisons people. That's why there's no farm that functions without adding some form of selenium to the feed. If you're organic, you're probably paying $400 for a 50-pound bag. If you're not, you're paying $50 for a 50-pound bag. But you can't rear animals without selenium. So that selenium is ending up in the fields, and it's now coming up and coming up. But if you don't put selenium into this mixture, you're not going to pull any of this stuff out. You pull it out, you don't want to just move it. You've got to have a lot of fatty omega-3s to get it out of the body. Your immune system in your gut requires fatty omega-3s as one of the most important things to keep the gut flora going. You've got to have all these bacteria, but you also have to have a lot of oils. You can grab that stuff, but what's it going to attach to? How's it going to get out? And fatty omega-3s, I use flaxseed oil on just about everybody with selenium. That shows these heavy metals we're trying to get out. So you could, if you have tons of, if you're rolling in dough, you can go to a place and pay a lot of money and have them put EDTA and do the bags of chelation. It's pulling everything out, and then you put back in what you want. We have rectal suppositories that you do every other night for 2 months, and then we check your hair in 3 months. That's the poor man's way of doing it. It's still expensive, but it's not like paying $300 a bag in an office call to do it 20 times. And then the third option is Biotics Research come out with a really good product that pulls it out slower, but it's just pills you take. Now, change your diet. Yeah, start
So
eating
if I take-
cans full of Brazil nuts and
Yeah, so if I eat the Brazil nuts, will my body be smart enough to swap out, put the selenium where it should
Yeah,
have been,
yeah.
and take the other stuff out, or it'll say, oh, that kegel is full.
well, it will do that. But what I see happens to some people, and they get upset because you're really high in cadmium, and we do homeopathy cadmium, we do selenium, we do the fatty omega-3s, and in 3 months, cadmium, yes, went down, but 7 other minerals jumped right up. Because as you turn on the detoxification process and this stuff starts pouring out of the lymphatics from your brain, you might have 10 other minerals come up. And what do they say then? Now what did you do to me? And I said, I didn't do anything. I'm trying to undo what you did, and you were worse than I thought you were. We just do that for 3 more months. Then you see the numbers come down. It takes a while to get pretty poisoned to the point that you got to do something, and you just don't detox overnight. I had a 15-year-old that had really high arsenic levels, and I said, "Do you eat rice?" And he goes, "That's what he lives on." Well, there's a lot of rice that has a lot of arsenic, so we put him on the rectal detox. We put him on the homeopathy arsenic and fatty omega-3s. Within a week, his big toenails about fell off, and he detoxed so fast. If you look at that acupuncture chart where the liver ends, it overwhelmed his liver to the point his toenails were ready to fall off. And I ended up sending him the Amish burn and wound salve and burdock root and all kinds of stuff to just keep wicking this stuff out until he started getting better. But we didn't realize how bad the arsenic poisoning was. It was in the hair, but there was a lot more in his body than the hair indicated. So we got to keep people from freaking out when their 15-year-olds can't walk too well because the toenails were falling out. It's like, well, first of all, you didn't tell me that he ate rice at every meal. We only found it in your drinking water. Because we sampled it. She paid $11,000 to get the water supply straightened out. But it was coming from the water, and it was coming from the rice. And rice, for whatever reason, is a real magnet to arsenic.
Yes, could you talk about prostate?
Prostate health?
Yeah.
Very good. Prostate and PSA and boron go hand in hand. What boron does in the body, it goes after certain things, and the prostate antigen specific molecule is something that's an indicator that your prostate needs more boron. And of course you can buy pumpkin seeds, and there's some bush out of Florida, I can't think of the name of it, there's a lot of things that you use. And zinc, I mean, the prostate gland is the organ that stores your zinc. So people that are low on zinc will also, and Standard Process makes a really good product called Prostex, P-R-O-T-E-X. If I sense my stream being restricted, I take Prostex for about 4 days, and that only happens about every 6 months. There's something in there that I get out of, and it shrinks it up, and I'm good to go. But I've been taking boron, and I haven't had any prostate issues whatsoever. But boron in your prostate is, and then one of the problems with the prostate is the getting the selenium into the prostate. So you get particular cancer cell lines, you've got to get that selenium into the prostate, and the selenomethionine doesn't do it. You've got to go to Diamond V, and you've got to get their AF2000 or their AF3000, which is an organic yeast base. I learned that from Mark Whitaker. Mark Whitaker is one of the more brainy guys. Matt Damon made a movie of Mark Whitaker, being with a big corporation and being tagged for 8 years and going to prison and all that kind of stuff. He got out of prison, I gave him a call, and he was making a big selenium plant down in there, and I said, well, what's the big deal with the yeast? He says, well, that's the only one that you'll get across the prostate membranes.
It's the way.
It is the yeast-based selenium. So,
what's the name of the product again?
From Diamond V, it's in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. It's called Selenosource AF 2000 or 3000. That's parts per million in the bag, and it's certified organic. So I buy a bag of it, and it sits in a treatment room. And if any man comes in and has prostate cancer, I give him a quart of it, and I say, here, there's enough selenium for the rest of your life. And it keeps this, most men are supposed to die with prostate cancer, not from it. And this is one way to make sure that they die with it, not from it. Don Cordes was the first organic farmer in our county in 1981. 8 years ago he came in and I said, Don, here's enough selenium for the rest of your life. And in 6 months he came back and says, I need more. I looked at him and I said, you're not any more bald than you were, your fingernails still intact? Oh no, he says, my numbers are good and I feel good. And he took ungodly amounts of selenium, more than I've ever seen anybody take, and it didn't have any ill effects, but he lived 8 more years. He didn't die from selenium poisoning. He died because he was 88 and got really old. So this $400 or $500 a bag. I've gone to Acres conventions. I went up to the Real Salt people. They got them bottles about that big. I said, bring it to me. I take the top off. I put a tablespoon of selenium there, shake it up so that you put a little bit of selenium with your salt every time you use it. It's a good way. It tastes terrible. Even at my standards, it tastes terrible. I give it to a guy with prostate cancer, and 3 days later, he goes, give it to somebody else. I'd rather die. And a year later, he fell off the bridge in his backyard. He was painting his head and died.
Oh.
So I'm just going to kill him, so I'd rather die than have that.
I have bad news about the Selenosource. It's no longer available. It's no longer available as a standalone product in the United States.
Selenosource.
Selenosource 3000.
They don't make the 3000 no more?
It's not. They're saying it's no longer available as a standalone product in the United States.
Are they making the 2000? There's another organic company that you can actually buy the human from. It's called Altec.
Altec?
Yeah.
A-L-T-E.
I believe so. Just type in ALTEC/selenium. It's a company on the East Coast that a lot of organic people are using Altec. And they've been around a long time too. The big thing about viruses is selenium. Now I got one guy that I've known for 30 years, he full-blown HIV. I says, you know, what the HIV virus does is run all the selenium out of your body. Start taking selenium. He took the selenium with his other cocktail of pills. And when he really pissed me off, after 20 years, he decided to buy a selenium from somebody else because it was cheaper. But he takes the selenium every day. You don't know this guy's HIV. And he was a real radical activist. I said, where's all your radical friends? And he says, buried. I mean, there was a whole bunch of these people that died. And selenium keeps this virus. If you have a virus that runs the selenium out of your body and you lose control of the oxidation process, everything that can grow on you can and will. These people die from basic selenium deficiencies. They lose control of the oxidation process. You've got the sarco-something cancers that get into you. You have all these opportunistic things that break your body down. And they keep trying to do the antiviral drugs and all these cocktails and stuff, but selenium is the best thing that you can do, not just for the HIV, but for any virus you got out there, to keep them asleep and keep your immune system one step ahead of their mutations. Okay. Moving on from HIV, yes ma'am.
Can you address arthritis as we...
Arthritis? Osteoarthritis? is wear and tear, and the great relief is boron. And you probably wouldn't have arthritis if you had a well-borated body. Every cell in your body has to have the ability to respirate and create energy. And when you have cells that do not have a direct blood supply, the mitochondria needs phosphorus to function. Phosphorus is a -3 molecule. If you can seep boron into the cells, that's a +3, and it will draw in the phosphorus so the cells can function. When the cells can't function, the calcium builds up, and it builds up, and it calcifies your joints. So you start taking lots of boron. Now, you want to just take straight boron, you'll get some relief. But probably turmeric or concentration of turmeric called curcumin. These are boron delivery systems that work really well. They're very expensive, but they work very well. If you have joints that have arthritis that are close to the skin, you can get turmeric essential oils. And they work fantastic. They work great on necks, they work great on toes, they work great on hands, but there's too much muscles around the low back to get it to penetrate deep enough. These are boron delivery systems. In the state of Israel, they have the highest concentration of boron in the civilized world, and the incidence of arthritis is less than 1%. In Jamaica, where they have some of the lowest, they have 80% of the population has arthritis. So there's a great disparity. Now, rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disease, meaning something is in your brain that's not telling your gut how to work right, or you got something growing in your gut that you shouldn't have, or you don't have something growing you should. And then your immune system starts attacking other cells. There's a big difference between rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm confused about taking these individually, because aren't each one that is like, if you take too much boron, I don't know what its opposite is, but don't you have to be careful about, if you take too much of that, is the other is going to go...
Interaction with other minerals?
Yeah, isn't I forget, isn't there like, I don't know what boron is, an iodine? Is there one opposite for each of these minerals?
Well, yeah, boron is a +3, and the -3 would either be nitrogen or it's phosphorus. So if you're a farmer, you're trying to get production of nitrogen to create energy for your plants. If you're a human being, you're trying to make the nitrogen work to create probiotics to get your vitamins so you can absorb minerals. If you're talking about boron in the brain, it sits there and does nothing except make sure that nothing happens in the spinal cord. And also it is there to repel aluminum. Calcium and magnesium work by pushing and pulling, and that's what makes muscle contractions. Sodium and potassium makes all your nerves fire. Boron sits in your brain in the highest concentrations to just simply repel aluminum. It's more magnetic in nature than it is an actual pump like sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium. So I don't think that taking a multiple vitamin with 80 or 90 things in it really does people a world of good, because I like to see a few minerals going in. And so I picked out the minerals that I think that make your genetic code work to the laws of physics. Gravity, magnetism, weak and strong electrical forces. Because your DNA code is subject to gravity. And that's what I think makes the whole code run. And if you look at the geological maps of the United States, there isn't anybody that's got everything. There's nowhere in the United States where you have adequate iodine, adequate selenium, adequate magnesium, adequate boron. Northern Michigan doesn't have magnesium, boron, sunlight, or selenium, or iodine. The county I live in has the highest cancer rates per capita. Period. So that's why, I put that one pill together based on my knowledge of tumor-suppressing genes, physics, and the genetic code. That's, I think, my best foot forward to try to make your chances of getting cancer 1 in 10 instead of 1 in 2. Do people get cancer? Yes, they do. People taking my mineral complex and got cancer? Yeah. I don't know if they'd have got it a lot earlier. You don't know if they're full of viruses, and you just don't, they're not, whatever they're doing. You may get involved in something that you shouldn't have gotten involved with, and it creates these events like mesothelioma. It's an asbestos problem. It's not a virus, it's just you got something in your system that causes these cells to mutate in such a way that when you got it, it's all lights out pretty bad really quick. It's high noon.
That's the Grand
Unified. Yeah, Grand Unified Mineral Complex. It's got my name on it. Dr. Olree's pill.
It's great.
Gina, yes, Gina.
Gluten intolerance, is there a mineral deficiency?
Okay, the question is gluten intolerance. In 1996, celiac disease, gluten intolerance was 1 in 10,000, and you could do a blood test. Now it's 1 in 110, and none of them pass the blood test. It's not true celiac. What's going on? Well, what would be in gluten that gets sprayed on all the conventional fields?
Glyphosate.
Some type of glycine molecule. I'll leave it at that. Thank you for allowing me to be your presenter.
Where do we find your ebook?
DrRichOlree.com. It should be up in a week or so. All it takes is money.
My name is Sandra.